Welcome back to Adventure Pier here on Planet Coaster, here on UK Theme Parks. And have we got some work to do today. So first we're going to place a new ride. The reason why we're going to place this flat ride first before doing any theming is to make sure we fit it in and we put the theming around it, and we're going to go for a thrill machine in the Huss Top Spin. Like Ramesses Revenge at Chessington World of Adventures, or indeed the old Ripsaw at Alton Towers. There's a few of these around the world still kicking around, plus some travelling ones as well if you're lucky enough to be going around Europe. But certainly the only model I can think of now in the UK is indeed Ramesses Revenge at Chessington. And then of course the ride we mentioned in the last episode. So we want this one to go underneath. It's not going to be very big, it's really not. It's just going to kind of squeeze in a little children's track ride. It's going to have a little turnaround point, back under the loop twice, back round to the station, and just a little kind of cat ride. So you're going to also see now what theme we're going for here. So it is still a destruction theme in terms of the tornado has hit the end of the pier, the buildings have been trashed, the rides remain and kind of interweave around the buildings. And this episode is going to be all about theming it. You'll see also we've put some paragliders down, and I believe this is kind of the, you know, we wanted 7 rides up this end. That's kind of what we've got now, 7 rides up this end. This will probably be it for the rides, and we want to build the scenery around it. Now the scenery we are going for up this side is going to be, it's going to be fairy tale. Very odd. I hear you say very, very odd. You've got kind of a wooden area next to it, and we're going to go fairy tale here. Now again, take into account, this is a pier. This isn't, you know, your major theme park or anything. There's no real segregation, but we are going to really kind of mix it up a bit and go for a fairy tale theme. And you're going to see how this comes together. So I've got an idea for some brickwork at the top for the turnaround, and indeed the loop back through as well, which we'll see go on top of this building before it goes back through the loop on the Eurofighter. Then we're going to add some detail to the it's kind of like a castle in honesty. Add some detail to the castle as we go up, and we'll have to build a separate one to go over the station here. A lot of this is kind of done on one plan, on one building, but when you start angling things, you're going to have to build a new building. So that's exactly what we're going to do here, and build a new building. So we're going to start just sort of probably with the same colour, or certainly a very similar colour. Line it up. It's always very hard to line up at an angle, and it kind of serves me right for building the angle like that. And we'll have a nice entrance for the Eurofighter there, and close it off quite quickly around the back, and exactly the same on the other side. But the Eurofighter is going to be kind of key to this fairy tale area, and also so is this small little track ride, which is really going to be hidden away. It's going to interact really nicely with the roller coaster, and indeed if you're on that roller coaster, it's going to interact very nicely with kind of the mouse underneath as well, because you know you don't often see rides underneath big roller coasters in real life terms, mainly because of dropping items and things, and you might see some nets, but it kind of ruins the theme. Fortunately here on Planet Coaster we don't have to worry too much about that, and we won't be worrying too much about that either. We're going to put some on there, we're going to add some dragons and some kind of scenery, and of course we will do inside the station. So as a general rule, we kind of theme the outside of the buildings, less so the inside, because it's not something you kind of see to the naked eye. However, on this one you will see the inside of the buildings, because we will be taking you on the ride obviously at the end, and we're going to make sure they function really well in the night and really well in the day. So we're going to have a little tower on top of the Eurofighter building, which the ride will go through, and you'll kind of see how this is shaping up now as we have the castle wall go around the outside. Arguably, this will be the feature point when you walk up to the area. I think the spinning coaster is going to be my favourite. I love the way the spinning coaster kind of moves. You know, I've been on it, haven't showed it to you guys yet, but I've been on it and I've looked around on it. I love the way it flows. It's got some really fast points, it's got some really slow points. I just love it. So I think that will be my favourite ride. But obviously, when you build a massive castle, it's always going to be the focal point. We'll make sure we get the paths out as well. And where we built up here and we're slightly off the ground, we have to be very careful with the paths, because some of them look like they kind of sink into the floor, and then some of them sort of look like they are well above the floor. So it is a little bit difficult when you have a platform at a base to get it just right. But that's what we're going for. That's what we're going for on this. Get that in there and we can do some scenery around it. We've gone for a slightly different colour, gone for a slightly darker colour on the castle, and it'll really differentiate the two buildings. When you see kind of the plan for on top of the kind of cat ride, which you know, we're going to be calling that Witches. It's going to have a little witch theme. This one will be a dragon theme, so it's really kind of a fairy tale storyline. And the top spin is going to have sort of a I think we're going to have some dragons on that as well, as an extension across to the dragon scene, and then little princess paragliders at the front. Everyone likes to fly around on little princesses, so we'll keep that one really simple. Probably won't have a lot of theming, but this one we really want to enclose this poster. I want to enclose it into the pier area. I want to make sure nothing's hanging over, and of course we want to make it scenery, because there's loads of bits and pieces going on here, and we can potentially do a couple of interactions here. We can potentially close it off completely. You know, this turnaround point undoubtedly has got to be the you know, got to be the point of the focal point of the ride, where we're going to have some extra scenery and probably some witches in there as well. Now we're going to put some rocks in. I know what you're thinking, rocks are heavy for piers, but you know, a lot of the rocks around the country, certainly the UK, are made of polystyrene, so or it kind of, I say polystyrene, actually no, some of them are made of polystyrene. We've seen them go in. A lot of them are made of polystyrene, if not they're made of fiberglass. So you know, these are lightweight rocks. Before anyone says anything about them collapsing through the pier, we're going to have some decorative rocks across. We're going to enclose this little bit and then build the rocks around it, because this is where I want a little kind of a little witches scene going on, and we'll get some witches in there. Now the rock size we've got to be careful with, because we don't want it to overlap on the track. I imagine we'll probably have to move some of these as we build up, and we don't want it to interact with the cat ride either and be on that track. So it's a really tight fit. We're going to have to go for little rocks. It takes a little bit of time. We can probably stick a big one there on top. We're going to have to move it in a bit and just make sure that it isn't in the way of any rides. Now in Fairy Tale is quite easy to build, because you can build yourself a lovely big castle. You know, you can stick loads of dragons in. It's got loads of little bits and pieces as well, kind of, you know, scenery items of jousting and you know, all the kind of things you'd expect to see from books and things like that. So it's quite an easy one to build, and of course with rocks and things you can really integrate completely differently to just having the scenery theme. Some of these ones you can only kind of click on the scenery and that's all you can have, but you know, with Fairy Tale it does leave it wide open for different type buildings. It leaves it open for different types of scenery as well. You know, there's some other nice carts. You can kind of dip a bit into the pirate scenery for some of it, and you've got the rocks and various types of trees. You know, you're not limited so much. So for a pier end, when we want to do something different, this is real ideal. As you can see, you know, rock work can take a long time. You know, again, especially on a pier, it's not so bad when you have a park and you can just raise around it and you can kind of decorate it. But when you want to put actual rocks down, you know, it's got to be perfect. So we'll have to test the ride. We'll have to have a look around, see how close it gets, and probably move a couple of rocks. Yeah, that's way too close. I had a feeling it would be way too close. So we're going to move a few of the rocks away now from the edge of the train, because we don't really want them touching. You know, again, whilst it's not realistic, we don't want trains going through rocks. That does seem a little bit pointless. We'd also, of course, bend the track out a bit as well, because we can't really move the right-hand side where we've just built that cabin, because you know, we're quite tight for space there. We're quite tight for space with Witch's Ride, and we're quite tight for space with the scenery and particularly building up it. So we're going to stretch the roller coaster out towards the edge of the pier a bit, and then we can take the rocks out and fully enclose this area here. And it's not a very big area. It's, you know, it's a little children's ride, little fancy ride, and we're going to have some witches in here. Make it a little bit of a witch theme, and of course we're going to have some lighting as well. Not only do we need lighting for the pier, because piers generally look stunning at night. I'm not sure how great we're going to make this one look, to be honest, but we're certainly going to have adequate lighting where people can enjoy rides and attractions, and you can see bits and pieces of the pier. We are only concentrating on this episode on this top end of the pier. The middle bit, to be honest, I'm still not 100% sure what we're going to do with that and how we're going to run it. I don't really want to extend this theme down to the middles. You know, I had a thought about actually removing a bit of the pier and having a bit like a temporary scaffold going between the two to make it look like, you know, the middle of the pier had been blown away in this amazing tornado that had struck through the building. But I kind of decided against that. I didn't think it was a particularly good idea, and again, you know, it's not something you would normally see. So we've just kind of scrapped that one. We will keep it as it is, and I think we'll have a more bright and happy theme to come on to the pier with. Now, a few changes here. We're going to remove a few supports so that they don't interrupt with the witches scene in here, and we've got a little witches scene in here. We're going to put a cauldron in, which will have its own special effects. I don't think we're going to be able to fit much else in here, to be honest, but you know, once it's up and running like this, you can kind of see, and you know, when nighttime strikes around, we'll have a couple of witches in there. When nighttime strikes around, this is going to look absolutely amazing. Really, really amazing. We can have a few lights around, a few torches as well, just to kind of brighten up the exterior a bit. Yeah, like that. Nice little entrance, nice little bright entrance, and we'll keep that as it is. We'll put a few fences down to make it look like you're kind of trespassing in their area. You know, like it's the cave, it's the witch's cave, and you're heading in to the witch's cave. Should you be? No, of course you shouldn't be heading into the witch's cave. You don't have a choice. Your little cat's going to go in there. You're going to see what's going on. You're going to get involved in some of the big spells, as you know, the massive tree trunks kind of hold this cave together, and you're really underground. It will really kind of, you know, immerse you in the fact that obviously you are on a pier, but we're going to put some grass down, some little flowers and things, and you know, it's only so much in Venice you can do in such a small area. You know, you take this into a theme park, you can really enclose it, really darken it off a bit, really stick some, you know, massive trees and things around. But we are still going to put some foliage around because, you know, we want you to be, you know, to understand that yes, you are part of a pier, but at the end of the day, you know, you've paid your money, you've come in, and you're going to get a little bit of scenery. You're not in your standard everyday run-of-the-mill walk to the end of your wooden pier. You're going to get a little something different. And you know, this is why we're going for the attention to detail. A little bit more on here, possibly not what you do on a theme park, but a little bit more in here. I'm not sure whether or not that's going to be able to stay there. I'm not sure whether or not the train's going to go through that archway, but we'll check that in just a second. We're going to build just underneath here so we can, you know, build it up slightly and make it look like the track's sitting on the rocks as you come around. As I said, we will have to use just the little rocks, change them up and down, and make sure that it goes through fine. And then we'll put a bit of greenery around it as well. Again, making sure that the train doesn't hit it. So as you can see, we're using every inch we possibly can of this pier. You know, it's not a massive pier. I did consider extending it, whether or not it would be worth it, but I thought, no, you know, we've got to fit this in. We've got to fit this in the area that we're in, and this is how we want to do it. Now, the Witches Ride, you are going to see, and these are always really popular, and it's kind of dangerous how popular these are, because they, the way I've kind of designed it is that the exit is going to be slightly closer to the other end, and of course it doesn't let people onto the ride before people have got off the ride, so it does take a long time to get people on and off the ride, sadly. But sometimes queues are kind of what you need. We might end up charging for this one potentially still, you know, to keep the queue times down, but we want to get the queue lines in. The queue lines are really important for us to kind of fit in the attractions and everything else around it. We're going to have to move that one across actually. We're going to have to do a little bit of a tinkering here, I think, on there, because the dragon we've put in, it's a little bit tight, but we'll bring that out. We're going to connect that one across, slightly move that over. Yeah, as I said, it is difficult. It's really difficult to connect some of these paths when you're slightly off the ground already as opposed to on flat ground. That's the only thing I've really noticed about doing this pier, is that where you are raised slightly off the ground, that sometimes it can be really difficult to kind of judge when you need to put things as opposed to it being on the ground. That has posed a nice challenge. But again, you know, with the scenery that we've got here, you'll see what we're going to do with this now, because at the end of the day it doesn't really look like devastation or anything at the moment. Particularly the building where the dragon is doesn't look like devastation or anything, but you are going to see this building in particular completely change the landscape of everything, and you know, it's gonna really stand out, and it's going to interact really nicely with some of the other elements as well, particularly some of the stuff we've already built over in the wooden area. So yeah, can't wait for that. Got a little bits of theming on the wall before we enclose this. For those that have played Planet Coaster, you probably understand once you put a roof on things, it's very difficult sometimes to go back in and actually change it. So we're going to get some scenery in there first before popping the roof on, and then we're going to build around the top area. But you know, got to have some flowers, got to make it really look like it was a huge livable area. And yeah, you know, it's nothing too major, it's nothing too big, nothing too kind of, you know, super massive, but it's going to give you a nice little scenery once you get on the ride. And you know, ideally this one will be ridden in the dark, and you'll see why in a minute. A few pots and pans, and this is of course where we said you can go into kind of other ones as well, because some of the western area has some pots and pans which are really good to use on some of this, and it just really adds a bit of variety up, change the colours and kind of mix it all together. We've got some broken ones as well, some fallen over ones, and you know, the inside of the station, that's done. That's done. Nice little sleeping dragon in there, a little bit of jesters on their horses, and now we can actually put the roof on. So we're going to put a lipped roof on the edge, all the way around, and then fill slightly higher in the middle. A little bit of scenery out the front, so we kind of know already that we're not going to be using this bit. It's not going to be used for a ride. There's going to be nothing around the corner here. We do still need to theme the roller coaster as well. That needs to come back, and we want to really segregate this area. Although we've tucked away the top spin in the corner, we kind of want to segregate this area so there won't be a walkway between these two going round. You'll have to go around the side of the paragliders to get to the top spin, and it's kind of like themed as we are now, keeping this one as it is. So the main building is now themed, but we've got to sort out this track here, and I've got a really good idea of how I want to do this turnaround and make it really interact with the scenery and make it a little bit different. So we are going to have to go right to the top. We use the current brickwork we've obviously already got, and we're going to go right to the top on this one, and we're actually going to build across the front as well. Now this has got some kind of broken looking bits that you can put in, as you can see me filling it in there, because we are going for a devastation scene, so it's going to look like there's holes, it's going to look like you know, it's broken through. We're going to use some of the scenery effects, and it can really look like now it can start to take pace of how it's fallen down and how it's, you know, how it's kind of derelict, and you know, once a massive sort of palace castle is now ruins, absolute ruins, with these kind of rides exploring it as you go, and the, you know, the witches have taken over. So we are going to put a bit of scenery in here as well to interact with not only the roller coaster but of course the witches ride underneath, because we've got both. At the end of the day we have got to see both, and you'll see how we're doing that, and we're putting holes in, and we're actually going to make a, I think we'll make a massive hole in the corner here, and of course we will have to theme up the top. Now we've got these broken rocks which we can have around, we'll have some on the floor as well, and you'll also see the special effects we're going to use with some of the effects that they have to show the broken rocks across, and of course we will have you know, all the edging and everything else along. I'm not sure we're going to use any more dragons or anything on here, but I'm very keen to get a witch's house in here. It just feels like it's kind of taken over, and they've moved in, and you know, they've really taken advantage of everything that's happening. The witches have come down, they found a little shelter building, and in they go. That's how they're going to do it, and they're going to take it over. Now you can really help some of the attention to detail in here and how we want to do it. We have got to be careful that the ride doesn't kind of go through things. And I want to build right the way across here. I really want to enclose sort of this edge of the ride. Maybe not like with a roof on necessarily, but really enclose this bit. So you know, it looks like you're going in and out of a building. Now we're going to have to probably tinker with the track a bit to get it through there, but that's okay. We can do that, and we'll put a little top bit on there. And it just looks all broken. I love the broken look that you can get of this, and then you can break it all the way down, and then all of a sudden when you look at it from the front, it just looks like everything's been smashed and wrecked and completely and utterly trashed. Now we're going to finish off the inside of the ride, so this is the main focus now for this episode, is finishing off this ride and just kind of getting rid of these, you know, we've got these edges here which we want to get rid of. We want to get rid of all the hard edges, and you know, really make it look like that it's devastation right the way across, and the, you know, building is indeed falling down. And of course, we've got to test the roller coaster and make sure that it goes through all these gaps safely. It's definitely not going through that one. We are going to have to make a few tinkering ones there. But you'll see now what I meant, where, you know, you're going to come out this loop which is on the ground, and you're going to suddenly enter this building and then shoot right over the turn on the outside of the building through a hole, and then straight back into the building on the hole before continuing your journey. And again, whilst you're on the cat ride, you're going to go round and you're going to have you know, interactions with not only the coaster but some of the witches ones, some of the rocks, some of the broken bits, and you know, broken bits of the building. And you know, there's no inspiration for this. I know a lot of people get inspiration from theme parks around the world, and we have before as well. We've had lots of inspiration from theme parks out and about. But this one is just something that I just thought that this is how I want to do it. This is how I want to do it. I mean, I know there's a lot of devastation ones around, and indeed, you know, we've got a lot of inspiration from devastated ones where buildings have been smashed and planes have been crashed. You know, you could even look at the swarm at Fort Park to see something like that. But you know, this one is very, very different, and this is kind of how we want to make it. Whilst it's lovely to get inspiration sometimes, you know, it's good to come up with something new. And what we're going to do with these, we're going to place these in, but we are actually going to look like they're broken torches, and kind of they've wedged themselves into the pier at different angles. Really sort of push him in a bit to make it look so normal, because we want to have some light and we want people to see, but we don't make it look too normal. I'll have some scenery on the wall, because you won't see this on the coaster, but you will see it on the little cat ride, which obviously is really, really important. Now we're going to put some fences around as well, and we really do need to sort out some of the lighting and scenery here. So we've got the ivy, love a bit of ivy going up. Again, it's not really all fairy tale ivy, but it's going to look great. It's going to look great climbing the walls right the way to the top. You know, the nature has taken over this derelict, wonderful previous palace, and we can really kind of go into the corners and go across and come back to the house here. Kind of link the witches bits all in, which is lovely. Love the way that sort of works, and you know, the witch's house will be there for everyone to see. And then these massive fairy tale vines, you know, Jack and the Beanstalk style vines going across, and we're going to have some ivy up the front of the building. And yeah, we just got to sort of you know, sort out some of the clearance areas. That's going to be a bit tight as well, so we're going to move that across, sort out the clearance areas there. Sort out some of the scenery on the wall. It'd be nice actually along here. I think what we'll do, we'll put a little bit of a roof along here, so we can have a chandelier underneath. So, you know, again, make it look like you've kind of come through a great hall area. And also give it a bit of lighting from above as well. Just because, you know, spice it up a little bit, make it look less ordinary than what it does. And you know, we can enclose this bit quite nicely. Bit of damaged scenery there, and then, you know, it's just the possibilities are endless with Planet Coaster. And every time I play it, so I've been playing it, I've only played it for 460 hours, and I say only in terms of kind of how I've seen people play this, it's not that long. But every time we go onto it, you kind of find a new way to put things together, and we do watch other people's videos, and we do go onto the Steam Workshop, and you know, people have original ideas, and then of course you have some ideas from other theme parks. We picked up ones from Europe, we've picked up obviously ones from the UK, although we're probably not blessed with amazing themed areas in the UK like they are indeed across Europe or the United States. And it's a real shame on that front from the theme park point of view that we don't have the inspiration so much in the UK to do that. And this is where you kind of, it's great to watch other people's videos, and it's great to watch Planet Coaster, and it's great to watch some of the YouTubers that actually travel the theme parks around. And, you know, if you're a Planet Coaster enthusiast and you've never seen some of the amazing detail that you can actually make, well, they exist across the world for you to copy and make, you know, get yourself on YouTube and follow some of the YouTubers that travel the world and, you know, see it, and indeed take a look at ours across the UK to see what we have here as well. But, you know, it's very, you can make things very simple and yet look quite good. Kind of like this is very simple details put together. I think we're going to have to remove that, it's definitely not going to fit. These are very simple details that, you know, you can put together to kind of make it look, you know, really good. To be honest with you, you know, if you rocked up to a theme park and you saw this, you'd be like, wow, this is good. You rock up to a pier and see this, you'd be like, oh my god, how did this happen? How did this happen on a pier? Why did they even bother? Well, this is where we want to have a little bit of a point of difference here, and we want to go for something completely new. Now, it does take a long time to put it together. I think a lot of people with Planet Coaster, I've got a few friends that play this, you know, get to a point where they build a massive roller coaster and are like, there we go, roller coaster done, that's it, that's all we want to do. You know, there's no kind of like aspirations to theme it and get it looking amazing, but you know, we're quite the opposite. We really do like to try and, you know, really theme the area the best we can, and you know, on the pier as well, we're going to put some trees on there. We're going to have some plastic fake trees on there to make it look good. Now then, you see some of the special effects. One of them is rock falling. So we're going to put that across the broken bits here with a bit of dust as well. So we'll stick that in there, and we're also going to have it above the bar across the middle bit there, which the train doesn't go through, and it kind of you know, gives a backstory as to why there's a hole there, because it's all sort of blown through and you know, it's completely ripped out. We'll put some more rubble at the bottom here. Obviously it's black rubble coming out, so we're gonna change the colour slightly and mix it up a bit and have some rubble under there. We'll have to move these in for track clearance, and undoubtedly we're gonna have to check this track going through the hole there. I'm not overly sure it is. There's the chandelier I want. We're gonna hang that underneath, give a bit of extra light. A few more scenery effects in here. A little bit of smoke effect as well, nothing wrong with a little bit of smoke. We'll have a little bit coming out of the witch's house as well, blowing down onto the track. Nothing too major, just a little bit. And this is what I like, and again at night time this is going to look amazing. And we will take you on it, particularly at night as well, because this is kind of what this area has been built for. Obviously we've got devastation around the top there. Got a few minor details I want to make to this building. This building actually has remained intact. This building hasn't been completely trashed. You know, the dragon has sort of protected it from the elements and kept it all together. So we're going to keep that one in there as well. We have got to do a little bit of theming inside of here just to sort of close off the, you can see the dragon animatronic at the top. So we want to get all that closed off. So it's not on view when you're on the ride, and get that all in and get a nice little archway in here as well for you entering the ride. We'll put a few scenery bits in here. But yeah, I mean, this has been, what do you think? Were you expecting a nice fairy tale sort of look to this? Devastation fairy tale, is that something new? I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, but certainly for me it's something new. Let us know what you think of the park so far, what you think of the Adventure Pier. We're going to quickly finish off the fairy tale bit here and this roller coaster ride, and then next episode we've got a lot to do. Next episode will be the final episode before we open the park. We've got to finish the spinning roller coaster, and of course we've got to pick a theme and sort out the middle part of the ride as well. So let us know what you think. We'll be back next week with the third episode of the Adventure Pier on building in Planet Coaster. I really hope you're enjoying it. Leave your suggestions down below, and we'll catch you next time.